Hey everybody, it's Pete. Good morning. It is Thursday morning, February 18th, 2021. Thank you so much for joining me today on today's episode of today's Best Stock Picks. Today we're going to focus on earnings. A little bit of earnings yesterday from Tilray. We have earnings today on Roku. We're going to talk about the trade setup on Roku and the expected earnings heading into it and what that sets up as a swing trade. But before we do that, I want to get a little bit into the market. We're actually rolling over a little bit. Had a lot of conversations in the boot camp this week about sector rotation, understanding when markets are strong and you expect them to continue. But once you become a little bit more advanced as a trader, once you really understand how to spot more clues, and we say that making more distinctions, that's when you start to position yourself ahead of certain moves. And that's when you start to anticipate what's going to happen next. Now notice, I didn't say forecast, I didn't say predict. What we're really doing is we're stacking what's going on and just putting the clues together. And that's really what trading is all about. We call it in the boot camp, that's a part of tape reading. And the easiest way to describe this is that we're building an argument. We're building an argument because we opened our trading account. We want to accept the risk in exchange for the profit that we could make. But the best traders, the ones that see their account go higher and higher and higher every month, are the ones that are really good at building arguments. Now, when I say building arguments, it's not that tough. And I'm actually going to show you in just a second one of the ways, probably one of the strongest ways to do that, so that when you do take risk, when you put a trade on, you know what? I really feel good about this because of A, because of B, because of C, because of D. And then you put that trade on. And if it works out, terrific. If it doesn't, you're like, you know what? It was a pretty good idea. That one just didn't follow through. I'm going to look for the next idea. That's what real trading is about. If you're trying to be perfect all the time, you're really going to drive yourself crazy, quite honestly. And quite honestly, you don't need to be right all the time. You need to be right most of the time. You need to keep your losses reasonable. But here's the key. We talk about this as small profit syndrome. If you're not earning enough on your winners, all those losses are going to be really annoying. But if you are earning enough on your winners, if you do build the arguments, and you preserve capital when it's a little tougher, like we're talking about right now, you're going to be in good shape. As long as you're patient, that's a really big part of what we talk about in the community, especially right now. January was amazing. February's, you really got to be more of a sniper and really get in there and find good opportunities. But you know what? We're not getting paid by the hour. We're getting paid by the month. So being patient is not really that big of a deal. It's really being smart. So if you want to hashtag trade like a pro, like we talk about in the community, it really comes down to building these arguments. I'm going to show you what's going on right now and how we came to the conclusion last week that the market was starting to roll over a little bit. And I really lightened up, especially on overnight positions and even my day trades. So I guess first what I want to ask you to do is if you find these videos helpful, definitely do me a favor and click down and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. You'll get updates. But I think just as important is if you have questions about what we talk about here in the videos, I would love to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Give us a thumbs up if you find them valuable. We have picks, we have analysis, we have a lot of trading education in here. So if that kind of stuff really gets you jazzed up like it does us, definitely click down and subscribe. That would be awesome. So we're going to head over to the charts. We're going to start out with the futures markets to see where we're trading right now. It's about 3 hours before the market opens. Then I'm going to walk over to, remember what I just said about building an argument? I'm going to show you how to start to piece that stuff together. Because look, really the bottom line, you're watching this right now because you want to have absolute confidence in what you're doing. You want to have absolute confidence that if you get in and you place a trade, you're like, yeah, I did my work. I understand what I'm looking at. And that's really the spot that you want to be at. You want to feel conviction. You want to feel like you know exactly what you're doing. So what I'm going to show you right now is a part of that. So let's head on over to the screen and we're going to start out with looking at the future. So we actually, again, putting the pieces together. Yesterday afternoon in the boot camp, there's a part of trading where you're watching the market, you're watching sector rotation, you're watching industry groups, you're watching the market internals. And it sounds like a lot, but it's really not. It's just on one screen and you're just like, oh, there it is, right? So around 11:30 yesterday, you can see over here the market started to rally because all of those pieces were in place. So prior to that, it's a little bit of a choppier day. So if you're a day trader, you can understand that. There were some very interesting setups. And again, if you happen to be watching yesterday's video, we made a call on a couple of stocks that were expected to lower open. And we said we'd be looking to day trade them long. And I'll show you one of those in just a second. And again, this is the benefit of being community with each other all day. We have these type of game plan meetings every single day. So the futures are actually trading lower, and that's not really the big thing. The big thing is what I want to talk about is this. As you start to understand trading, as you start to build the argument for trades, and again, we kind of walk through this where you start out with the market, and that's the big general picture. You're talking about the Dow, the NASDAQ, the Russell, right? The S&P. That's kind of like the broad picture. And then below that, you start working into the individual sectors and then the individual groups, and then you find the leading stocks in those leading sectors. I don't trade penny stocks. I don't want anything to do with penny stocks. I want to find the leaders. I want to find the stocks where the smart money has good volume. So how does that lead back into where we last week and Tuesday morning started to talk about the market's cracking? We're not seeing good signs. So what we talk our traders through in the boot camp is now it's time to lighten up a little bit. Now it's time to, unless you see A plus B plus C, that's okay. That's okay. We're just managing risk right now. Preservation of capital is just as big as getting in there and finding the next good idea. And we do have some ideas, but I want to get into your head right now that if you really, really are serious about this, which you're watching this video right now, you probably are, you need to do a little bit more than just run a scan pre-market and say, I'm going to go look at those stocks because it's up 10% right now. It's building this argument that really, really makes you into something special as a trader. And look, by the way, these, on social media here, everything is, we have this nice relationship here. If you want to go deeper and actually learn how I do all this, get my entire course, actually get my trades sent right to your phone every day, click down in the bottom of the description and see what's in the boot camp. I'd love to see you on the other side. If you have a passion like we do, you might be a good fit to work for our community. So that's what's going on in the market. We started to see a crack where we were relatively strong, and you could see which sectors were strong. So we were trading those leading stocks. But then it started to turn, and we completely changed which industry groups we started to watch, and it became a little bit more challenging to find great ideas. So now we get into those individual stocks that are showing what we call smart money action right now. And we're going to talk about a couple of those. So we're actually going to start out with Roku earnings right now, and we're going to talk about the trade setup. And one of the biggest things here, obviously you can see that Roku has been on a raging bull market for most of the last year. The biggest thing with today's earnings, and I'm going to just point that out really quick. This is the biggest thing right now. And a lot of these companies are doing the same thing where they're not necessarily making money yet, but they're losing less money. So the market is a discounting mechanism where they're looking and you're buying today's stock for future earnings. So you're buying a discounted price of where you expect it to be. So when you start to see these stocks losing less and starting to get to the other side, which is known as being in the black, that's when you start to see the hyper growth, and we might call these growth stocks. So with that in mind for Roku's earnings right now, what we're actually looking to do, we're going to go out on a little bit higher time frame, which is the weekly chart. We actually are still well bid for months. Now we have a little bit of profit taking this week, but that's mostly because of the anticipation of earnings coming out, which, by the way, Walmart before the market today, and AMAT as well after hours today. So what is the trade here today? We just pulled back from all-time highs. We kind of kissed the 475 level. I'm not doing anything until we get above that 475 level. So I have an alert up at that level, and then I'm looking for a new trade. If it opens and then trades lower after earnings after hours today, I'm just going to leave it alone. So I'm going to start to work a position over that 475 level. I think that we could see 550, quite honestly, before the end of the month if earnings come out as expected. So that's really the scenario that I'm looking for. If it trades lower, leave it alone. Nothing to do. It's not doing exactly what you want. Now, Tilray, obviously, the cannabis stocks have been all over the news. Huge, massive spike, came back down to earth. Thankfully, again, if you're in the community, we have very definitive profit targets. That's really the big thing. And again, if you want to learn about how we do this kind of stuff, just click down. At least learn what's in the boot camp. You got nothing to lose, just to click through and find out what's in there. So here's the point that I want to make, and obviously you can see that they actually beat, which is pretty interesting, right? But how does that set up a trade, right? We called out 2 days ago. Let me hop back over here to the daily chart. 2 days ago on this on February 12th. So it was actually last week, right? We were looking for buyers to step back up, and we were looking for certain price actions. So now here's the description, because this is really where you start to anticipate. This is really where good trading ideas come in. This is when you separate yourself from I'm just reading charts to I actually know what I'm looking for, And if I see that, only then am I going to take action. We were looking for a lower opening. I'm going to show you a stock from yesterday, exactly what I'm talking about, which is really kind of exciting. So what we were looking for is we were looking for the stock to find buyers again. We were looking for the smart money to step back in, but we were very clear. We said that we were expecting it to trade below the previous day's low based on the price action. But then we were looking for it to reverse, close above the open, and close near the highs. If that happened, then we would start to look for an opportunity. You see that when I talk about building an argument, it's if this happens and this happens, then I'm going to do this. So you're really scripting your success. That's what good trading is. You're scripting it. So nothing's emotion. You're just like, if that happens, I know exactly what I'm going to do. If it doesn't, I leave it alone. So how does that relate back to Roku and the big, Tilray and the big trade that we talked about yesterday? I'll show you. So this is the day, and you can see we did not get the price action we wanted. So we did not get involved in that stock that day. It did not close above the open. It did not close above the previous day's low. So we day traded it that day, did not carry the overnight. Then the next day, buyers came back in a little bit. Not yet, right? The market was cracking a little bit. Earnings were coming up, so we stayed away from it. Now earnings came out. It's trading up about 6% now, about 2%. So what are we looking for today? What are we looking for in the cannabis sector right now that we're looking to say, now it's time to start going and getting involved? We're looking for this kind of price action on the daily chart. And we call that well bid. So coming out of yesterday's consolidation, heading into earnings, what we're looking for today is a strong close. And we're looking for a strong close in many of those stocks. So we're looking at CGC. Okay, all of these growth, no pun intended, all these growth stocks are starting to show signs of what we call accumulation. But we need the smart money to prove it's more than just one day. So when the deep pockets get in there and start making a commitment, that's when we're like, oh, okay, now it's obvious. Now it's time for us to piggyback on that and just look for a spot. So kind of interesting setups. So that's how we're looking at Tilray. That's how we're looking at Roku. I want to talk about one of the trades that we called out yesterday, and hopefully you took advantage of this. And we got some feedback, some comments like, I don't understand why you're buying a stock that's going down. It's not the fact that it's going down the last 2 days. That's nothing more than timing. We literally said yesterday morning, we were looking for a lower opening in NVAX yesterday and for buyers to quickly come back into the market. We called it out. We had it in the community, and this was the trade that we took. It was a $25 rally in the first half hour of the day. This is what game planning does. This is what preparation does. But just as importantly, this is what we do every single morning. We have game plan meetings where we set up these kind of trades. And I'm telling you, if you're watching this, you have passion to do this. Sometimes it's just that one little deeper thing you need to know, which is how to create these kind of game plans. So hopefully you're getting some of these clues here on social media with me. So getting into a few more trades today, we're looking at QS Quantscape. The stock actually got crushed after you could see that entry signal that we took a little bit earlier in the year. And now what's kind of cool, again, learning how to create a game plan, learning how to dig in deeper, you can start to see that we're starting to see a little bit of accumulation. Now, it's only 2 days, but the stock has certainly got interesting now. So that means I'm going to be day trading the stock as it's active, as the market has attention, as it has higher volume. Then if we see this happen for more than just a couple of days, now it gets interesting and we start to game plan a little bit longer term trades. Riot and Mara, very difficult to be talking about the market right now without talking about these two. Obviously trading in lockstep with the continued new all-time highs in the cryptocurrency markets. What we're talking about here is we're not looking to initiate a new longer-term trade, but we are day trading the stock, getting actively involved in the stock, and continue to trail the stop loss higher if you happen to have a swing trade from lower levels. And if you do, congratulations, really good job. Some other trades we're looking at today, FCX, really good clean breakout. And what's interesting about the next couple of trades that we're going to talk about, relative strength compared to the market and actually continuing to push higher and see new levels. Trip is another one. Really good clean push and pause up into that area. We're also going to talk about the cruise lines. So we got RCL, not yet, but getting up to a nice level. Again, remember, we talk a lot about having a watch list and getting ready for the next trade. CCL, you can see, again, some good relative strength following bullish gaps. And NCLH, Norwegian Cruise Line. So you could start to see It's not a buying opportunity yet. It's something that's now going in the watch list. Remember yesterday we talked about NEO setting the alert at 65. These are the kind of things you need to do. You need to do that. So in this case here, I'd have an alert set for 27. Don't wake me up until it hits that level. So again, talking about NEO, 65 is the level. And I'm not going to get involved in these wiggles and jiggles and one day up, one day down. I'm waiting for it to clear that level. That means smart money is now making a new commitment and punching it through levels they couldn't get through before. Then I'll give it my attention. When smart money in deep pocket starts to push it up, only then will I get involved. Why would I try and guess when I could just look and say, okay, now they're doing something, I'm going to get involved. That's what it means to read the order flow. Okay. Next, VLO, really good pop in VLO and good relative strength. You'll hear me talk about it quite a bit. The consistency of buying and the lighter volume pauses, and we're starting to see that pretty clean. And we came into the week, if you watch Tuesday's video, energy was near the top of the stocks that we were watching. Open actually has a nice pullback, pulling right back to where it broke out. I'm looking for this over $32 before I start looking for a new trade, looking for it to make a run up to 40 and above. And last but not least, we're going to talk about DISCA. And the good clean punch here. And again, consistency, push up and pause, consolidate, find your spot to risk, look for the next move, and then you start to initiate and build a position there. Last one I want to finish up with is Disney. Disney actually had earnings, pulled back, a little bit of profit taking, but now it reversed yesterday with the rest of the market. I'm looking to initiate a new swing trade long here in Disney today as well. So a lot going on right now, right? Less than perfect market. Remember what we said right at the beginning of the video. Some markets, like the first 3 weeks in January, amazing. Just get in there and hold those trades longer. Right now, you need to dig in a little bit deeper. Like I said, there's the market, individual, industry, sectors down into the industry groups, and then we start to look for the leaders in those sectors. It is a time-tested way of watching the market and trading with the market. It's the way I do it all day, every day. And I'm be honest, it's just easier because I'm not trying to find something. I'm really just going to say what's happening. Where does the smart money have attention? And then we look for a spot to piggyback on that. So if you want to learn how I do it, click down into the description, learn more about the boot camp. I'd really love to see you on the other side. If you find these videos helpful, definitely click down and subscribe. I'd love to hear from you. Have a great day, everybody, and have a good day trading. Take care now.